Good evening, race fans, and welcome to our coverage of PCA Sim Racing Series 9. Tonight is Challenge Class Event 1, live here on Podium Esports. I'm Rachel Whiteford, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Cameron Obenon is on social media with Ryan Bauer producing, this evening using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Series 9 is expected to bring the closest, most competitive series yet. In the history of PCA Sim Racing, Series 9 represents some of the most far-reaching challenges our competitors have seen. 700 plus driver statuses and on-track performances were reviewed, and a new set of competition rules were developed. Responding to the request of our racers, a new license penalty point system was introduced. Each driver is provided with penalty licenses with 0 points at the beginning of the series, and these licenses can hold up to 8 license penalty points for the Pro, Club and Sport classes. Meanwhile in Challenge, this series, they'll have up to 10. If a driver requires these points, they have to sit out the following race. As PCA Sim Racing continues to grow, constant development ensures the drivers experience the best quality sim racing possible. Pirelli is back as the PCA Sim Racing title sponsor for Series 9. Pirelli was founded in Milan in 1872, and today stands as a global brand known for its cutting-edge technology, high-end production, excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian roots. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of tyres, and is an OEM supplier to Porsche. Find out more about Pirelli at www.pirelli.com. Six Sigma Sim Racing was founded in 2021 by automotive engineers as a new sim racing equipment provider. After only 1 year, Six Sigma now has divisions in the USA, Japan, Australia, and Europe, providing the best valued sim racing cockpits and peripherals. As a PCA member or sim racing driver, Six Sigma offers 10% off from the website selections, and the coupon code is PCA Sim. That is PCA Sim. For more information about Six Sigma Sim Racing, please visit website sixsigmasimracing.com. Welcome to Road Atlanta this week here for this first round. And DJ, tell us a little bit more about this track.
Well, this track is obviously no stranger to sports car racing, hosting the Petit Le Mans for the past 25 years or so. It's a very tricky and technical circuit, particularly coming through sectors 1 and 2, coming up the rising hill, the blind apex that constitutes turns 2 and 3, and then down through the S's into turn 5. A very, very tricky corner where patience is the absolute key. Then the run down into 6 and 7, well, that's really all a setup to the long back straightaway around here going down into turns 10A and 10B. And Rachel, that's where we're going to see the majority of the passing here today. That draft, that slipstream, really going to come into play around that part of the track.
It really is, and this challenge race will differ from all other races we've had so far this Season 9. Whilst normally they're an hour long, this one takes the format of 2 races. A 15-minute heat race, 5 minutes of warm-up, and then a 40-minute feature race. They have 1 fast repair available, 50% fuel, meaning they will require a stop during the feature race, and, as usual, 16X is a drive-through penalty, and 30 is a driver disqualification. So don't forget they also have the license points to factor in, and this can make things quite an interesting race here. So we'll have to see how these guys will actually pull this one through. Oh, we're getting that qualifying out of the way here, and DJ, I do believe that this heat race will set our running order for the feature, yes?
Yes, indeed it will. The way that is going to set is that this is sort of pre-qualifying here. Everybody gets to go out, do that 15-minute heat race, and then that will set the stage for that feature race there, the 40-minute race with the pit stop included. And so I think you're going to want to qualify up towards the front end of the field regardless, but I think you've got a little bit of wiggle room here as a couple of the drivers who were fast in qualifying, they're a little bit farther down the order than I expected, so expect them to be able to move their way up forward.
Absolutely, I can't wait to see exactly what will come from this as we get to our grid now. And on pole for our heat race, Scott Bowers there in the first place, with second Michael Adams, Todd Roseman in third, John Gibson in 4th place, Drew Kenny in 5th, Eric Hoffman 6th, Randy Leverold in 7th. We have Mark Frost in 8th place, and Edward Trippett in 9th, Ola Murphy in 10th.
In 11th place, it's going to be the number 1 car of Stacey Iwata, followed by Michael Burgoyne, then Jeff Lashway and Jonathan Reber there in 14th. 15th will be Jack Stevenson, followed by Johan Nye, with Andrew Smiley and Chris Sari lining up in 17th and 18th. 19th will be Tim Schrock, followed by Tom Crane.
After that, it will be Jason Sherwood. Ronald Simeon in 21st, Jason Sherwood 22nd, James Hemmick in 23rd, Robert Benson 24th, Art Schwartz 25th, Stefan Iridaka 26th, Freddie Lopez 27th, and Andy McCune in 28th. There's our whole grid, and that sets the way for this first heat. 15 minutes, remember. Only 15 minutes to get what you can here, so a good starting position will help, but it doesn't secure you anything. We'll see where they end up, of course, after 15 minutes. We'll have 5 minutes of warm-up after that, and then we go into our feature race here. We'll get a full pace lap now. We'll see them lining up there under the Michelin Bridge. And the other previous races, DJ, have shown us this track is a lot trickier, I think, than people expected.
Yeah, it certainly is. We saw quite a few incidents with drivers being a little bit aggressive coming into turn 1. You've got to be very, very careful there. If you decide to take a more inside line going into that corner, the rear ends, particularly in these a little bit wonky balanced Porsches, can really throw out on you. We're dealing with rear-wheel drive, rear engines, and that puts a lot of weight on the rear tires. And so if you get a little bit sideways, these cars are almost impossible to control. So you've got to be very, very careful about that and make sure not to over-rotate the cars.
Very much so. Well, these cars are moving off now as we get ourselves ready for this first of the races here for Challenge. And we'll see how this new format actually operates for them here, because we want to make sure that we see this in a very good light. Of course, it's the first time they're doing this. We'll see how they play with this. This is, let's not forget, the entry-level series for PCA Sim Racing. From here, they can progress up to the likes of Sport, Club, and Pro. So this is where drivers can make their mark, and let's hope it's the right mark.
Yeah, very much so. When you're in an entry-level series like this, you really and truly want to be able to try to put a good foot forward. You want to be aggressive, show that you're a racer, show that you're making sure that you know your racecraft and that you've got the ability to move up through the field, but you don't want to be so overly aggressive that you're a bit of a menace to the other drivers out on track. And so that's that kind of give and take that you're going to have to go back and forth with for these drivers. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage it out, and it's going to be interesting to see some new faces that we have coming in, how they're going to be able to settle themselves out and where they're going to be in the pecking order.
Very much so, and let's get these guys out on the racetrack now. They're running through the bottom end of this lap here. It's double right, really. It's not, I wouldn't say it's 2 corners here. It's more like a double apex that's got a big gap. I think DJ is the best way to describe it, because the second you're out of one, you're setting up for the next one straight away and into that. So it's very much a flow through the end of this lap here, setting up for this massive straight here, which will be instrumental in anyone's race.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, just how big of an effect the draft is going to have. And you're completely right about turns 6 and 7 there, Rachel. You really have to carry a lot of speed through turn 6, and it's really just a setup down to the first or second gear corner that is turn 7. And getting an exit out of that corner right, absolutely crucial. As we take a look here at the track map, you can kind of see where it is, see how long that back straightaway is compared to every other place on the track as we bring our way down the hill here, getting ready to take the green flag.
Certainly are now getting ourselves here through this chicane, which will be one of our most torturous and beneficial spots on this racetrack. Let's get these guys ready to race under the Fox Factory Racing Bridge. Coming down to this final corner, field of the command of the field, and Scott Bowers leads the way here with Michael Adams side by side, and it's a big jump, 3 wide already, heading in towards turn 1 behind them. Sensibly backing out there by Drew Kenny. Didn't want to go too hard too soon. You don't have a lot of time to mess around with 15 minutes, but you do need to make sure you are there at the end of 15 minutes, I think, as we come over the crest from 3, down into 4 and 5, and switch through this section here. One of the more fun sections, I think, of Road Atlanta, as the field all coming through fairly clean.
Yeah, we had a little bit of an incident there in the back between Michael Burgoyne, I think Jeff Lashway, and Chris Sari involved in it. And that driver that you mentioned poking their nose out at the beginning, thinking about making it 3 wide, that's in that red and rainbow machine. Drew Kenny, look for him to move his way up through the field. He was very, very quick in practice. I think he's going to be a car to watch out for. Definitely
will be. We'll see them now coming out onto the back straight here from 7. And this is the important part of the track. Now, Bauer's still in a decent position. He's second right now. It's not where he wanted to be. Michael Adams has really benefited on this first lap. He's out front now. Roseman sitting in third place. Gibson behind them. And behind him, it's going to be Drew Kenny there in that grouping. Kenny was a little bit further forwards, but he tried to drop back. He dives up the inside, though. Make a move there. We saw him on the screen. We only had, I believe, oh, round he goes. That was a little bit of light contact there for those guys, unfortunately. Decisive to the race how it's going, but just one of those racing moments, not enough room on a track for two cars as we get them. So Kenny going again. That will really cost him, though, for the feature. We know he's got speed, though, DJ, which will be really important, I think. As Mark Frost there from 8th place.
Yeah, this is Frost from 8th. Sorry, Rachel. But no, this is Frost coming up over the hill there, and as you saw, coming through that very, very tricky braking zone, did a good job there. That's a completely blind corner coming up and over. Frost trying to close down a little bit on Eric Kaufman up ahead of him, but right now he's running in a little bit of an island to himself, and so that's going to be a good thing. He's going to be able to focus in on his laps and just go around as we've got Ronald Simeon around.
Yes, we do. Ronald Simeon not in a good position there, but we'll see if he can try and get his car turning again and moving. Looking back for Scott Bowers here. Back towards Todd Roseman. Northeast driver there, Scott Bowers, putting on a good show today. Not quite as fast as he wanted to be. He wanted to be leading still. But Bozeman seems to be on the attack. Bowers, good qualifying. Not sure he can hold his position here with Roseman, coming up really quickly.
Yeah, Todd Roseman, another one of those drivers that was very, very quick during practice, and I expected to see him up in the top 3. Michael Adams was a little bit of the surprise here. He wasn't nearly as quick, but he's just set a fastest lap of the race with a 1:18.723, really booking along here. Now for Roseman, he's got that gap down to about 0.4 of a second or so, and what he needs to do here through this first sector of the track, just keep everything nice and together and keep close as they go into turn 7. Now we watch here Olin Murphy from the Palmetto region working his way. This is going to be him trying to come up behind Stacy Owata right now, a longtime veteran in the series.
Yeah, Owata currently holding that position ahead, and there's no real change in the gap there, so relatively stable for now, but we'll see what Murphy can do in terms of gaining some more track position. Behind him is Reba Jonathan, in this case. The 147 trying to gain some time there, but the gap is pretty big. Looking at Edward Trippett here. 6th place, looking towards Levold, just ahead of him there in 5th. Battle for the top 5 spots here for these guys, and we'll see the effect of the draft here on this long straight, just how powerful it will be here for Trippett. He should be able to catch up here, but I think he might be a little too far away, DJ.
Yeah, it looked like he was just a hair far back. Maybe had a little bit of wheel spin coming out of turn 7. He thought about a move down to the inside there, but not going to go for it. Going to stay in line here. Again, this heat race here, this is not where points are awarded, so you're not going to see necessarily a cutthroat mentality about trying to get your way up through the field. I think you're going to see a lot of drivers doing exactly what we saw the 444 do there, which is just be a little bit more cautious and wait for an opportune moment to strike and take those high percentage moves.
Speaking of high percentage moves, Roseman has dropped back a little bit here. Was all over the back of Bowers, but not quite as close. Trippett there we can still see on the screen. He's trying to gain Levold, but just not quite there. Roseman, though, he was so close, but he's just settled back here. Maybe it's... I'm starting top 3. This is good. I think it's a good vibe for this one. I'm not sure what the layout is in terms of, we'll find out that. Actually, I'll find it before I even speak about it. But you're not going to win the race off this, not the feature. Oh, that's Owata off the track. The Canada West region driver there. Had a solo incident. Unfortunate for him, but we'll keep our eyes on the race. That's Jack Stevenson there from 11th place.
Yeah, and that looks like a little bit of a spin there from Wada farther back. But Stevenson here trying to close up behind Jonathan Reber. Let's see if he's able to get a good run here with that gap, holding it about 0.2 of a second. I don't think that's going to be close enough, but I'll give credit here as they go. Diving down into the corner, going to think about it there and not going to be able to make the move. I think just backing off a little bit, seeing that that door was going to close. Now his problem is he's going to have Andrew Smiley for company coming up behind him.
Yeah, he really will there. Smiley wants to be involved in this. He's right behind him, and we can see an impact of this. Now, one thing that these drivers also have to consider, this heat is not just about starting position for the feature. No, qualifying and the heat also carry points. So all 3 phases of the challenge race are integral to having a good race. Poor qualifier, hope you race well because you've got 2 chances to score points to make up for that. And it can go both ways. So these drivers will have to be very much on the ball throughout all of this event each week to try and actually make sure they have a good season. And of course boost their chances of going up towards a sport class. Now as it stands, Michael Adams has a gap of just over 1.3 seconds right now over Scott Bowers. Bowers about the same, just 9/10 back to Roseman, so that's widened as well. The gap to Gibson though, is nearly 4 seconds, DJ.
Yeah, it's nearly 4 seconds. Gibson really dropping off there and just continually drop time. It's actually expanded upwards of about 5 seconds there for those drivers. But this battle still pretty tight here between Lerville, Trippett, and Kaufman as they continue to come up behind, trying to see here where it's going to play itself out. I'm not really seeing a lot of close running. Here is Scott Bowers, though. That gap up to the lead. I wonder if Michael Adams may have made a little bit of a mistake on that last lap as he put in a time of a 1:19.18. That is pretty slow, especially considering Bowers was able to put in a time of 1:18. So definitely looking like we've got a little bit of a race for the lead here.
Yeah, we certainly do. It'll be a time race for the lead here as we see if Scott Bowers can regain where he started, first place. It'd be really good for him if he can get that position back and maximize what he can gain from this race here. Of course, taking away a first in qualifying and a first in both heats would be incredibly useful. And looking at our timing and scoring here, DJ, I really think that Adams and Bowers are going to be our 2 guys here dueling it out for this in the actual feature race here. Roseman, though, I don't think we can count him out.
No, I don't think we can either. Todd Roseman doing a very good job. He's just holding that gap as Bowers getting a little bit perilously close there to the back of Michael Adams as they run down into 10 in 10A. Now, the question here is going to be is if these two continue to scrap here a little bit, is Roseman going to be able to pick up some of the pieces? Is he going to be able to come up behind and maybe make a play here for the lead, maybe try to take pole position and a few valuable points away?
Very much so. We'll have to see if he can do that. It will be a huge boon to change how this one plays in the points tables. But at the moment, we're just keeping our eyes on these drivers and what they're doing. Bowers, Roseman there, and Adams. Adams especially under serious threat here. The lead of this race, looking at Smiley there, that is down in 12th place. He's looking up towards Stevenson and Reba, just ahead of him. Ahead of them go those guys, Olam Murphy. Bit of a big gap though to him for them. Looking back at the sharp end, though, Bowers is not close enough yet to actually affect anything on the run down the back straight, so we'll keep our eyes on this race here. Looking at Roseman's point of view there. And the cars all very equally spaced here, I've got to say. It's a lot further apart than it was, but it's very evenly drawn down. The gap expanding yet to Gibson behind them in 4th place, so we really do have a 3-car breakaway here, but lap traffic is starting to become a factor. We have 5 minutes left. So 2/3 of this heat race are out of the way. Who could affect something in 5 minutes? Our lap time around here is 1:18. About 4 laps, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's about where they could come into it. The first car they're going to come up behind here is Ronald Simeon. That gap's about 3 seconds up the road, so that could certainly come into play, and that's going to give us a little bit more of an idea of just what everything is going to play itself out to be when we get to the feature race. I think lap traffic's going to play a big issue there, but as you said earlier, between Adams, Bowers, and Roseman right now, it looks about equidistant there between the 3. I think really what this is going to come down to is how easily they're able to get by Ronald Simeon. That gap is already down to under a second now between the leader. Let's see if Adams is able to catch him on the opportune part of the track here. That's going to be the backstretch. That's where you want to catch that traffic.
Definitely is, of course, and we want to make sure that you're doing it in the most opportune location for your race. And they're going to have them in the right spot here. Adams doesn't need to be worried. In fact, he can use that draft off the back marker there, which unfortunately, I believe, is that one of the Apex guys, I think?
And that's just going to be a pass. Yeah, it is. You're right, Rachel.
Yeah, that's the 4. That's Ronald Simeon. Unfortunately, back there now 1 lap down. Not a great day for him, unfortunately, but it's what he'll have to deal with at the moment. As through will come for another lap here. Gonna have 4:20 on the board at the moment. Adams has pulled a larger gap of that one. Really, poor timing for the likes of Roseman to catch that car. Traffic definitely having an impact here. No, Bowers caught them at the wrong time, actually. I'm quite incorrect. This has brought Bowers right into the grasp of Roseman.
Yeah, it certainly has. This is going to be a good battle here, and they're going to be plugged up behind Simeon right now. Is that going to allow for a little bit of running here for Roseman to be able to get up on by? Looks like he's going to be able to try to send that move down into turn 6. That's going to be done, but that's going to be a big check up there for Ton Roseman. It's very hard to go too wide down into 6, and I don't think that's going to play himself out for it. And now he gets around, but not without losing about 4 or 5 tenths of a second.
No, I'd agree. That's going to definitely play into how this race unfolds. Not ideal for any of them, and it really has bottled things up somewhat at the moment, and that will make the race a little bit more tricky for our drivers, unfortunately. Roseman, though, really wanting to be part of this race, just couldn't quite get himself through there in the opportune time. We'll see how that goes. Smiley there. That's 12th place from 17th. 5 spots gained by Andrew Smiley. Looking towards Stevenson and Reba still at the front of this field. No change in position yet. We've actually not had anyone really battle for a spot. We've had cars close to each other, DJ, but no one's really managed to get into a position to actually change spot here. I think the tyres are very equal right now.
Yeah, the tires are very equal, and in a short race like this, you're not necessarily having to worry about tire wear over the course of this quick little run. As we look out the back here of Olin Murphy, this is really our closest battle right now on track, with Jonathan Reber trying to come up behind him. But we will have to see when we get to that feature race. Tire conservation is going to be a little bit more crucial. Part of the reason, though, we're not seeing nearly as much of that tire wear, track temperature is only 74 degrees Fahrenheit, so a little bit on the chilly side, and you're not getting a lot of that greasy rub off that you would get if we were peaking our way up into the 80s or 90s.
No, definitely not there, of course. Now, we see Stevenson in 11th place, and that gap has shrunk here. He needs to try and get the best exit he can off this corner to really maximize this run on the back straight, but with Reba having the pull from Murphy, it equals out the draft there. All three will go faster. No one gains on anybody though.
Nobody gains on anybody as leaders right now coming across the start-finish line. Looks like it's going to be 2 laps left here for this heat race, as there's an eye on your leader, Michael Adams, the Pacific Northwest region driver, doing a fantastic job to be able to keep his way up through the field. He's been able to keep that gap over Scott Bowers here at this point. It's about 1.7 seconds now as they run, and really, really just needs to bring this car home. I think that is what the 911 has got to focus in on.
Absolutely does, and he can try it, but it's going to be time in the car. He needs to really eat up here. The lap time is dropping down. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have 1 minute remaining on the clock. That is less than a lap. However, our race leader is partway down the back straight, so this will be white flag this time by for Michael Adams. He's not under risk of attack from Scott Bowers. 1.6 seconds last time. Roseman equally far back, so they're staying this far apart. We did have black flags for Jeff Lashway and Drew Kenny, both for incidents on track there, so I'm sure Race Control will have a chat to them and see what our situation with those license points is. We'll have to see how those actually factor into this, of course. That could be a massive change for you, of course, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly could. Those penalty points being newly implemented here in this series for these drivers. That is going to be something that they're going to have to keep an eye out for, as the white flag has fallen here for these drivers working their way across. It looks like Adams has this relatively in hand at this point. The gap coming down a little bit, but it's still hovering at about a second. As long as he's able to stay, I would say, about 0.5 of a second ahead of Bowers behind him, by the time they exit turn 7, he should be in good shape.
Absolutely should there, and that's what he has to manage here. I think this order will stay relatively unchanged here. We are on, of course, the final lap now. The clock has hit 0. Unless one of them makes a serious mistake, this is looking like it's relatively fixed, which should bear them in good stead. Now, let's not forget, only one position has changed our top 3. Adams to the lead versus Bowers. That's important because they're very easily balanced here. Bowers has the points advantage from qualifying. Adams will have it in the heat. This will be decided really in terms of who leads coming out of Road Atlanta after the feature race, which is a really cool way of doing this, because we break this down from just 2 sets of points to 3, where it actually can have a real impact. Over the hill he comes. Do that final corner. Michael Adams wins our heat race here at Atlanta for round 1 of the Challenge Series. Scott Bowers in second, Todd Roseman in third. John Gibson will come down the hill in the 4th spot. And just behind him, Randy Levold in 5th. Wait for some of those cars to cross the track here. We have no battles really that close on the track that will make a difference in position here, of course. Smiley and his crew did not change spot either. But this, I think, is a really dynamic way of doing things, DJ.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's certainly a great way to sort of get your feet wet here, as we do have a little bit of a battle here. This is Andrew McCune getting passed by Drew Kenny. Remember, Kenny had that issue earlier on coming down through 10A and 10B as they had that little bit of a problem, and now he's going to be able to work his way back forward. That's going to put him into 18th position here if he's able to keep it on the road, and that one, I think, in particular, Rachel, is going to be one to watch out for. We know Kenny's got the speed. I think he's going to be a big mover and shaker come race time. I
absolutely agree with you. I think he absolutely would be a big mover and shaker. We'll have to see. There's going to be a lot more strategy, of course, at play in the feature race here. So we'll have to see that. Let's run down once we get him across the line here, of course. Pretty sure everyone's come across here. They have. We'll run down our finishing order. So Michael Adams takes the win in heat number 1 here at Atlanta. Scott Bowers second place, Todd Roseman in third, John Gibson in 4th, Randy Levold in 5th, Edward Tripp in 6th, Eric Kaufman in 7th, Mark Frost in 8th, Jonathan Reba 9th, Ola Murphy in 10th.
Coming home in 11th place, it was Jack Stevenson, followed by Andrew Smiley in the midst of that battle that we were following for the majority of the race. Then a little ways back, it was Tim Schrock, followed by Robert Benson, James Hemig, Stefan Uradka. Drew Kenny only able to salvage a 17th place position. As we said, keep your eye on that number 6, though. He's going to be one to move up through the field. Andy McCune was in 18th, followed by Stacey Iwata in 19th, and Freddie Lopez, your first car, a lap down.
After that, it's Chris Sari 21st with Johan Nye in 22nd, Art Schwartz 23rd, Jason Sherwood in 24th, Michael Burgoyne 25th, Tom Crane in 26th, Ronald Simeon 27th, and Jeff Lashway 28th. Well, that is our first heat out of the way. We're going to have 5 minutes of warm-up now. So that gives us an opportunity here, DJ, to look back at how this has gone so far and really kind of work out what these guys are going to be doing here. Because we know 40 minutes is under what you'd really see as a fuel run for one of these Porsches, and we know that there's theoretical to double stint them. So realistically, tyres are going to be okay for 40 minutes. More than okay. There'll be some effect, but they'll be fine. Fuel limited to 50% means that we will have an enforced pit stop at some point. Where do you go, and when?
Well, I think, judging off of what we saw the last couple of times out, I think the best strategy is going to be probably come down right at about the halfway point. So right about the 20-minute point, or take it all the way to the end of that fuel tank. Try to run it as dry as possible. I don't think you're going to see a lot of fuel-saving games around here and a lot of that. I think it is more going to be just a pit stop of necessity, sort of as you said. And yeah, with the 40-minute race, tire wear not going to be too much of an issue. You still want to be a little bit careful coming out of the low-speed corners in particular. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, rear engine, rear-wheel drive, there's a lot of weight over those rear axles, and so it's very, very easy to spin the rear tires if you're not careful. So you've got to be a little bit cognizant of it. Make sure you don't put too much heat into those rear tires. But outside of that, you should be home free.
Important to factor in here, and we did see passing is relatively limited after that first lap or two. So will we see that tyre wear and maybe fuel saving factor into people getting a lot closer in this feature?
I think we very well could. I think you're going to see some drivers that are maybe trying to eke out another lap or two of fuel, because remember, if you're able to use less fuel over the course of the run, that's less fuel that you have to put into the car, and that just means that it's going to be a shorter, quicker pit stop there for you. And so that could very well be a thing that the drivers try to do. I could also see some drivers just sort of throwing caution to the wind and going for broke in terms of outright pace, not really mattering all that much about the pit stop. You're probably only going to be able to gain a second, maybe a second and a half on a fuel-saving type strategy. So certainly by doing that, you may be able to make up that pace out on track with just being outright tenacious.
Well, you heard it there. The strategy, as I knock things over on my desk, might well be outright tenacity for these drivers. Who has what it takes to be very selfish in this feature race? That's going to be really telling for us. We do have our running order, of course, based on that grid. So how you finished in the heat will determine how, of course, you finish here in the actual feature race. So it's almost a two-stage qualifying, DJ.
Yeah, it really and truly is. You've got that pre-qualifying and then sort of a sprint race to be able to get that out of the way. We did have some good movers and shakers who were really able to move their way up through the field, and you're going to have some drivers that found themselves in sort of the wrong end of the field, looking at Drew Kenny in particular to try to move his way up and really fight and scrap his way through the field. So that's going to be a little bit interesting, and he's one that I think you need to keep an eye on at the beginning. I also think this battle for the lead here, Bowers, Adams, and Roseman, I think all three of them, we may see a little bit more aggressiveness once this comes to the actual race itself. We may see a little bit more diving going down into turn 10. There was certainly a lot of that we saw last night, and I think it could play out again here tonight.
Certainly could, of course. The points are going to be much more, should we say, rewarding for the feature race. So a good result, a nice steady result in that first race is important. You need to finish because you want that good starting position. So a poor finish gives you a poor starting spot, no matter how fast you are. So you really want to ensure you have a good, perfect is great, but good will do, realistically, as you want to make sure you are at the front of the race. So we go to our grid now. We have the grid forming up, I should say. We'll show those for you here. It's Michael Adams for the pole. Scott Bowers in second. Todd Roseman third. John Gibson in fourth. Randy Lavold fifth. Edward Trippett 6th, Eric Kaufman 7th, Mark Frost in 8th, Jonathan Reba 9th, and Nolan Murphy in 10th.
In 11th place, it's going to be Jack Stevenson, followed by Andrew Smiley. Tim Schrock's going to line up in 13th. Robert Benson and James Hamig will round out your top 15 with Stephanie Oriadka there in 16th and Drew Kenny in 17th. Andrew McCune will be 18th, followed by Stacey Iwata, and Freddie Lopez rounds out your top 20.
21st, Chris Sari with Johan Nye 22nd. Art Schwartz in 23rd, Jason Show at 24th, Michael Burgoyne and Tom Crane, Ronald Simeon, and Jeff Lashway there last in 28th. We'll get this field rolling in just a moment into the pace car here, and we'll see what these drivers do with this, because I think it will be quite interesting. Now, looking at the racetrack information, what we're seeing is that heat race has done just that. A heat race. The track's warmed up now. Marbles, rubber, temperature, they're carried over from that. So we're racing after a race. It's not going to be a virgin track.
No, it's certainly not. And what that means is those marbles that you have built offline, those little pieces of rubber that get discarded from the tire, if you try to be able to run over those, you're going to be basically sliding across ice. You're not going to have any grip there. So as the more that these cars run and the more that we have those marbles build up around the track, it's going to be more and more difficult to overtake offline. And as you said, just a little bit hotter out on track. We're still not into an area necessarily that I think we're going to have to worry a whole lot about tire temperatures. It's only about 75 degrees Fahrenheit as they run, but just that little bit more, it means tire temps are going to come up just a little bit faster. You may not have to do nearly as much weaving on this pace lap, but it'll just help you out a little bit.
Agree. Now, the biggest factor here is marbles, because that isn't something they're normally going to expect. Having qualified, you'll have a certain amount, it won't be much. You've just had a whole 15-minute race. Which now means you're having a race start on a used track, which means the cars are bunched up. They're 2, they're 3 wide on a used track, where offline is going to be your line. So we'll see how this plays out for a first lap. We'll see how they go through this first sequence of corners. It'll be incredibly telling.
Yeah, it'll be incredibly telling indeed, and I think you've got to be very, very worried if you are a driver that's going to be starting to the outside. Trying to run on the outside there up through turn 1 is dangerous under the best circumstances, but with the marbles that have built up, they tend to build up on the offline, getting pushed out to the outside of the track, so you have got to be very, very careful if you are Scott Bowers in the 917 or John Gibson in the 17. You've got to be very, very careful about that.
Couldn't agree more there. Coming down to the chicane here for the race start of race 1, or round 1 of season 9 for the challenge class. His feature race here tonight on Podium Esports. Brought to us by Six Sigma Sim Racing and Pirelli, of course, tonight. Coming under the Fox Factory Bridge, here we go. The pace car will pull to pit road, and this will be Michael Adams. Scott Bowers turned around from the direction they were in that first race as the orders changed, and it's a big jump there by the driver of Michael Adams right to the front. Here comes Roseman, though. He couldn't pass Bowers in that first heat. He tries it this time, but no, Bowers denies him. He'll go round, holding that line, the racing line benefiting him there. A little bit more confidence in the car, and they will be back in exactly the same order they were, and the gap already forming behind them to John Gibson.
Yes, indeed it is, and it looks like we were able to avoid any of that scruffiness that we had on the first lap in that heat race. Everybody down through the S's nice and cleanly here at this point. Looks like we did have a disconnection. That's Drew Kenny, though, already looking pretty aggressive there, trying to work his way up through turn 5.
Kenny already looking for it there. Gonna have to be careful to make sure nothing goes horribly wrong here, but keeping it clean. Front of the field, managing everything just right. There goes Trippett, Kaufman, Frost, Reba in that grouping there. Field very bunched up here. We should see some good drafting on this run down the straight. But looking forward towards going to be Trippett and Gibson. Keep our camera on those two behind them. We can get it. Kaufman looking for Trippett here. Looking up the inside. Going to be side by side. Big dive there into the chicane, and he'll hold that spot. Hold it. Can he be crossed over, though, by Trippett? No, he can't. So give Kaufman a spot.
Yeah, that's a good run there for Kaufman, just being able to do exactly what he needed to do, carrying that overspeed, bringing the car down to the inside, clearly indicating where he wanted to run that line, and being able to dive on the binders with enough time to get that right. A little bit of movement from behind there that looked like Jonathan Reber trying to maybe make a little bit of a move. That's going to push Kaufman offline a little bit. He looks a little bit discombobulated here. I think getting past like that may have shaken him up a little bit, and he's going to have to try to fight his way back forward.
Yeah, he is. Now, that's a move done right in that chicane, and it's incredibly simple to look at. You go, oh, well, that's easy. I just have to go inside and brake later and pass him. You would be surprised how often people screw that up at that corner. Because it looks easy, it looks inviting. It looks like this is an easy pass. It's not, because you have to manage the mid-corner and the exit and actually manage to hold that spot. There's Stacey Owata there. 15th place at the moment. With Drew Kenny is just behind them there, maybe? No, Drew Kenny's out of order there, actually. That'd be Boulder Benson pit road as well here, so that's changing things up a tad. Oh, the order's really shaking up down here. Scott Bowers there in second. Looking towards Michael Adams. Can he fight back here? It's the same story. Adams, Bowers, and Roseman again. Oh, there's a lot more race to go.
Yeah, a lot more race to go, and that's a great point you made there about that dive down into turn 10 there, Rachel. It's a downhill braking zone, which means you're having to compete with the weight of the car and gravity pulling you downhill. Very, very easy to lock up the front tires, even in these cars with anti-lock brakes. If that ABS kicks in, it's actually going to diminish your braking force. It's going to diminish your ability to get the car slowed down, and it's very, very easy to overshoot as a result of it. We jump back in the field here. Jeff Lashaway trying to work his way forward right now. That's Tom Crane right up ahead of them, and Andrew McCune leading this train.
Yeah, McCune there as well, getting his work done here. Rolling down there, you see the big dipping descent from the S's here. One of my favorite sections at Road Atlanta. Really fun to drive. The view back up the back straight there. Looks really simple at the car. It feels like you're going straight with a couple of undulations, but it's so twisty, weirdly enough, for a straight. It's barely actually straight. And then that big dive into the braking zone there. Again, deceptive, because you dive before it, but you carry so much more speed into it, and you're climbing straight out of it again. This track is very much a roller coaster.
Yeah, very, very much is. There's a lot of compression that goes in on the car. And on the simulator here, you may not be feeling that actual vertical G-force that you would be feeling in real life, but what you can feel is the way that it affects the car itself and where you're going to find those grip points. If you're having those compressions pushing the car down into the track, there's going to be more force on those tires, and you're going to have to combat that a little bit differently with the way you steer. Likewise, you come over the crest of a hill like you do here in in turn 5, the car's going to get a little bit lighter. You're going to have less grip on those tires, and you've got to know how to fight through that. And crucially, when you come up over those little crests here, as we see Olin Murphy do, the last thing you want to do is really overcorrect that car, because when it grips back up, it will immediately bite. And if you're overcorrecting, if you're in the middle of a correction, it's going to spit you right off track.
You know, that's a great way to look at it, actually, you know, grip points on a track. Rather than, you know, I'm going to turn in here, I'm going to race here, I'm going to accelerate here. Where have you got grip? Because one thing people don't appreciate is that you can corner at any speed as long as you have enough grip. That's the thing, adhesion grip breaks at a certain point. Beyond that, you can't corner, you can't turn. If you have infinite weight on a wheel, it will corner at any speed because it will have infinite grip. So it's about grip points on the track. Something similar is done in mountain biking, where downhill racer will talk about contact points on the track. You know, whereabouts are they actually going to be on the ground going down a really rocky run? Where will their wheels have grip? Because that's where you're making your adjustments to your direction, to your speed, to your braking. And it's not the whole track, surprisingly enough. So you have to think about it in a section of grip points. Where is your weight distribution going to be in that car? How is it going to be balanced, and how can the car respond in those positions? You understand that, you'll understand how the race car wants to drive. That's what makes you fast. Bowers right now wishes he could find a bit more of it, because he just can't get up to Michael Adams here. The top 3 again, the same story. A bit of a gap to Roseman, but realistically all 3 separated there. That's Drew Kenny there, back in 11th place. Some big action ahead of him, a little bit of busyness on the racetrack. Good run by him, though. We'll see if we can take advantage here. Stevenson, Murphy, Frost, and Reba up ahead there. We'll see the forward view of those guys. DJ, this is that mid-pack where you're going to see a lot of action here. We might see a move by Stevenson.
Yeah, and that's Drew Kenny diving down to the inside there on Jack Stevenson. A little bit close as they went into the braking zone, but perfectly managed there for the number 6, the Rainbow Warrior, being able to move their way up through the field. And it looks like Andrew Smiley is thinking about having a little bit of that as well. Careful down through turn 12. That's an area, because you're losing a little bit. Oh, as that's the 917. That's second place off and around over turn 1.
Oh, that is huge, huge, huge. Scott Bowers in trouble there. This will change his race from qualifying in pole. He makes a big, big mistake. It is too much curb on the first part of turn 1, and that bit him so hard into the inside safety barrier there. Just too much curb, and it's unsettled the car. Didn't have a grip point, and he got spun out. Unfortunate there for him, but that will really affect this race. Now it's Roseman and Adams there, and nobody else for a wait, because it's 5 seconds back to Gibson again.
Yeah, it certainly is there. And for Roseman, whoo, Olin Murphy getting all close to the back there of Drew Kenny's car. He had to really check himself up there. And if I'm Olin, I'm going to be looking out my rearview mirror, as I think Jack Stevenson could have a little bit of a chance of a run here. Looks like he may not have gotten the best run there as well. But yeah, you mentioned that gap between Adams and Roseman. I went back and checked it out between Roseman. As here we've got a better battle, though. Jeff Lashaway trying to work his way forward right now on James Hemmick.
Yeah, he certainly is there. Lashway looking for an opportunity at the moment, see what he can do with this. Hemming going to be holding the outside line. Through will come Lashway. No contest there for the 13, the Hudson Champlain region driver. Pushes his way through here without even a care in the world. No drama whatsoever. Look at nearly 10 minutes in the books here for our feature race, and it's flown by in comparison to the heat race of 15 minutes, which felt like it lasted forever. Drew Kenny there. Ooh, Kenny getting a little bit spicy. Looking up there towards Mark Frost's rear end. Oh, Stevenson in a wall there. Not the best day for him, unfortunately, but we'll keep our eyes on the racing. Replay coming up here. And it was just a solo incident. It wasn't particularly anyone's fault, but Jack Stevenson just comes unsettled across the crest here, I think. Little bit too much of something. Didn't quite turn. Oh, kisses those tires.
Yeah, I think he should be able to escape out of that with not a whole lot of damage. But side by side here, the 804 able to get their way, the 864 rather, that's Tom Crane. That's going to be a move that is sent there on James Hemmick. Hemmick going the wrong way through the field. He is down 2 spots on the day, but I've got to give credit here to Tom Crane. He is currently our second biggest mover right now, up 10 positions. The driver who has gained the most up to this point, well, that's the driver right up ahead of him. That is going to be Jeff Lashaway, who is up 13.
Yeah, Lashaway had an awful qualifying, to be fair. Jeff Lashaway qualified 28th. Yeah, last. It's not great. He also finished last in the heat. Now, Jeff Lashaway's up to 15th. That is a big movement for him. And it could be time to see where he goes. He is 29 seconds back from your leader, though, so let's not expect miracles here. Oh! Oh! Adams is off! Adams is off here. What happened to him? And it's turn 5. Is the silent killer. Road Atlanta just lost the grip there, coming through the apex and turned it around. Didn't hit anything, thankfully. Well, nearly on the way out, but this gives it to Roseman, leading for Roseman there. And round he comes. Oh my gosh, that is dramatic.
Yeah, just brought a little bit too much speed there into mid-corner, and that's what I talked about a little bit earlier with all the weight on the rear axle of these cars. If you start to get that car sideways, it's very, very hard to get it back under control. You get a little bit of slippage there, as Drew Kenny's thinking about a big bomb coming up the inside there of Mark Frost, and beautifully done for car 6. He is now up 10 positions. Drew Kenny on a mission here today.
Kenny absolutely on a mission, driving like a crazy person. Safely, of course, though. Now, we're also seeing Ronald Simeon getting a black flag for an incident at 6 minutes 31. See what happens to him there. But this is a big shift here. We've got Frost up in 8th place there. Now, we'll see where these guys shake out. But, wow, this has dramatically changed here. And the tyres aren't going to be fantastic, of course, for your former race leader. That's going to be a big change in how that one plays. But Bowers is back in 11th place, of course. Michael Adams back in 5th. So Roseman, Gibson, Trippett, and Kaufman up ahead here. And this is entirely different now to what we expected. Todd Roseman, perennially the bridesmaid in this entire event so far and qualifying in the heat. It's now right up there at the altar.
Yeah, right up there at the altar, and Roseman leading the pack here with a 7-second advantage. That basically means he's going to be hot lapping here at this point, just able to run his own race. He doesn't have to worry about Gibson behind him, and he's got a little bit of time to be able to go until Sherwood and Lopez, the next drivers up the road that's lap traffic. But Drew Kenny continuing his meteoric rise through the field. He's going to try to get by Jonathan Reber there. Looks like he's able to get that done, as that is going to be Reber and I believe Olin Murphy that we're going very, very close. Oh, as that's Reber around.
Oh, Reba indeed around, unfortunately, in the chicane there. Jonathan Reba will drop back here. He was in 7th place, so big problems for him in that one. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Smiley, I think. It wasn't Reba. It was the 167. It was Sandro Smiley that had the problem. Oh, no, it was... Oh, we had 2 of them have problems. Oh, gosh. Yeah, we had one round in there. It was a 147. Which you are probably correct was Reba. That was, yeah. And he was struck by Andrew Smiley. Unfortunate. Just nowhere to go in the middle of the corner. Wow, this has evolved so quickly.
Yeah, very much so, and just a little bit of the domino effect there. Andrew Smiley really left with nowhere to go, and he got caught up in all of that. As this is another battle, though, starting to play itself out. Eric Kaufman here leading ahead of Michael Adams. The gap is about 0.4 of a second as they work their way on the backstretch. That means that Adams is going to be getting a nice helping of the draft here.
And a nice helping is exactly what he would like here. This is completely evolved to a different race from what we're seeing now. Roseman has to play a different strategy. Adams is going for him, but 12 seconds adrift is a large margin. Last turn by, 119.962 with traffic, and a 120.1 for your race leader, so it's definitely a very different beast.
Yeah, very much definitely a different beast here. This is certainly a race that has changed itself out all the way through. I'm very interested as Adams now coming up behind Kaufman. Again, this battle continuing to play itself out.
Yeah, it certainly is there. We'll see this one still play as Kaufman working on this race here. Adams looking for an opportunity. Currently inside there. No contest placed by Kaufman. Just lets him through.
That lets him on through. I think that's a smart play there by Kaufman. He recognized that there was more speed coming up behind us. That's Olin Murphy. Olin Murphy off the car. Number 18 again. Another victim there of turn 5.
Turn 5's the killer here. It's the one that gets most cars from most classes, not just Porsches. I've seen nearly car from nearly any class spin out coming through 5 there. You've got really 3 changes of elevation in quick succession, and just to add insult to injury, you have 2 direction changes. Where the car is at its most unsettled. It is never forgiving.
No, it really and truly isn't. But I'll tell you one driver who is having a good day and being able to handle those elevation changes quite well. That is Michael Adams, who's charging his way back up through the field, the 911, back onto the podium right now. He's going to try to close in the gap there. It's about 5 seconds back to John Gibson. But I think here with the speed that we've seen out of him, he may just be able to do it.
Yeah, he absolutely may indeed, and that will be really important to see. Lashway here, 12th place, meteoric rise continuing. Hey, you never know, he could get up there.
Yeah, he could get up there as well. Lashway trying to be able to see what he could do, up 16 on the day right now, waiting to see if he's going to be able to pick up a little bit more. He is running pretty close behind Jack Stevenson and Tim Schrock right now, so they're doing a really, really good job. By the way, I want to give some credit here to our top few drivers. We talked a little bit earlier about those incident limits that we had to deal with. Well, those incident limits are no worry here to Tim Roseman and John Gibson, who are both sitting right now at 0 incidents.
Gotta say that's pretty impressive for those guys, but there's a lot of race left to go here with 23 minutes on the clock. We are looking though to approach that pin cycle here. Would you say it's open now?
I would say it's just about open here at this point. We may see drivers start to peel off in about 3 to 4 minutes time, but I think that is going to be really and truly when the majority of the field decides to come on in. That halfway point, that's going to be the moment, I think, where the most of the drivers will opt to peel in, because you know you're going to be safe at that point. You know you're going to be able to come on down and get to the end of the race if you come in halfway.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. So we're thinking maybe 2 laps, 3 laps, we'll see people head down pit road, which will give us a good indication when Todd Roseman decides is going to be the important part here. Because 3rd place is now your race leader with a gap of 7.6 to John Gibson in 2nd. And Michael Adams is back up to the podium finish of 3rd, though, if he can hold this. So this is not over by a long stretch.
No, it certainly isn't, and I've been keeping my eye on that gap. It's ebbed and flowed here a little bit for Adams. He's certainly trying to close in the best that he can, but losing a little bit of time, so not nearly as much as he would like to be able to close in. It's still about 4.5 seconds as they run.
It is 4.5 seconds, but, well, the time will have to tell with this one. We're seeing Adams running hard there, trying to find everything he can on this racetrack to get himself back to where he started this race. Just Jack Stevenson in 10th, Chicago region driver, looking up towards Reba, who's running again. Oh, big move up the inside. Nicely done.
Nicely done indeed. Reber having some good runs here today. I'm pretty impressed with Jonathan to be able to see what he's able to do. Is that going to be appealed down to pit lane? Yes, it is. That's Jonathan Reber, your first driver to take it up on pit lane. Although I am hearing that he is being actually black flagged for an incident, so this may be a penalty being served.
Oh, that's going to be rough for him, unfortunately. But he was, of course, involved in that spin at the chicane, so one to keep an eye on there, I think.
Yeah, certainly one to be able to keep an eye on here as we focus on the number 2 of Eric Kaufman as he works his way through the field right now. He has the very, very quick rising Drew Kenny coming up behind him. Dare I say that Kenny is going to be hungry to be able to get over there, and he's going to be close in behind.
I think a pretty good assessment. Kenny's been one of our really hungry drivers today, as is Adams. Kenny currently lurking behind Kaufman and Trippett. This could be a very interesting fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting fight. We've seen plenty of aggression here out of Kenny. Let me rephrase that. Controlled aggression out of Drew Kenny here. Very, very smart, high percentage moves, but willing to take those opportunities. It's a very, very good run for Kenny. And remember, he's one of those drivers that had to work his way back up through the field to be able to get there. And he is certainly going to be able to go.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and that's big for him, of course, as this one comes down to our halfway point. 20 minutes there. Who will pit first? We'll get our first pit stops, and then we'll talk about our halfway point material for this broadcast and run through our running order there. Kenny taking another spot there on the track as he just keeps slicing through. 5th place.
Yeah, 5th place there for Kenny as he is going to be in that top 5. The question is going to be how high is that number 6 going to be able to rise? He's only got about 1.3 seconds to catch up to Edward Trippett up ahead of him. And then Michael Adams is only about 3 seconds up the road from that. And I don't think that's out of the question by the end of the 20 minutes remaining in this race that we could see Drew Kenny in position here to be able to claim a podium spot.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I think it could definitely happen. Drew Kenny has a real hunger in him today. He qualified in 5th. He ended up racing after an incident in 17th. He finished, of course, in the heat race, and he raced up from 17th to 5th. Yeah, that is a massive climb. Fastest car on track, by the way, last lap for Drew Kenny. That is a big, big margin to go for. The gap to Gibson's widened, by the way. It's now 8.7. The gap, though, for Adams has come down by 1.2.
Yes,
so
it has. So, yeah, Adams really on the charge here, moving able to work his way up forward. He has been able to take a big chunk of that, and a lot of that was because of lap 13 and 14, where he was able to take down pretty much combined 3 seconds there. Very, very impressive stuff.
Hugely impressive there from those guys. We'll see this one continue going here, as we do, in fact, arrive at the halfway point of this race. We'll do it a little bit before the first pit stops. Driving technique, car setup, and telemetry analysis. These are just a few things you need to squeeze every last 10th out of your lap. How convenient. Join our very own physicist, Nicky Chan, who you may know from his P4 finish last season's pro field, as he explains all this to you and more in scientific yet easily digestible YouTube videos at last10th.racing. Watch today so you can enjoy squeezing every last 10th off your lap time and beat those personal bests. Last 10th. Better car, better driver. Well, looking at our rundown here, we have out front Todd Roseman after a shock elevation from 3rd because we had crashes, so unenforced crashes for your 2 leaders there, Michael Adams, and of course that was going to be Scott Bowers there. We have John Gibson 2nd, Michael Adams in 3rd now. Drew Kenny got a replay for you what just happened a moment ago. Andy McKeon in 22nd, who I can confirm is, not in 22nd anymore. Bit of a moment for him there. Drew Kenny in 4th, by the way. He's elevated himself further. Trippett in 5th. Kaufman 6th. Mark Frost in the 7th. Stacey Wartic in 10th. Oh, Jason Sherwood really wants to be on screen right now. I was going to get to you eventually, Jason Sherwood, but he is there now. Jack Stevenson in 9th. Ellen Murphy is in 10th. Tim Schrock in the 11th spot. Tom Crane, James Hemmick, Chris Sari, Jonathan Reba, Jeff Lashway, big climb for him, 28th to 16th. Art Schwartz, 17th. Red Acker, 18th. Johan Nye, 19th. Michael Burgoyne, 20th. Andrew Smiley, 21st. He's just retired. Andrew McCune, we just saw him have a little moment. Ronald Simeon on track. Randy Levold is on track. Robert Benson is in 26th. Sherwood, 27th. And Freddie Lopez, last but not least, in 28th. That's our halfway run down here for your field, as on board there Jack Stevenson, the Chicago region driver. He's up a couple of spots here for himself. 2 from 11th on the grid. He's hitting pit road now.
Yeah, he's going to come down here with about 16 minutes left to go. I anticipate that fuel window will stay open for a little bit while longer. Here comes Chris Sari with a move down to the inside of James Hemmick. Hemmick dropping down the field here a little bit, but he is still up on the day, up 1 position. We're also going to have Jack Stevenson and Tom Crane coming down into the pits, so more and more of these drivers opting to come down in to get their service.
Yeah, this is our window now, just past that halfway point, 60 minutes remaining, so 25 appears to be our number for this one. We'll see what they do with this. Has Roseman stopped yet? That's going to be the interesting one here. Feature race. No, he's not. So we still... Oh, and as we say it, he does it. Maybe he's listening. Hi, Todd. No, this seems to be the sequence we're looking at here. Michael Adams, of course, elevated there to now the lead in net, but he does need to pit. So that will be interesting. We'll see where he will come. Oh, no, he has a... Is it a crash lap time? No, it was a crash lap time, lap 8. So that was him having a moment there. He will have to pit still, so he needs to come for fuel. This is not an aggregate position.
Yeah, he'll have to come in as well. Drew Kenny up into second as a result of those pit stops. Here comes Eric Kaufman and Mark Frost both coming down at pit lane there. The number 16 going to be the latest to take service. I'm also seeing Stacy Iwata, John Gibson coming in. Gibson looks like he's going to be in and out. Lap traffic they're having to deal with for the 9:17 as we watch here. The 9:51, that was Bowers getting by Ariadka as they went around. And this is going to be some of the dangerous area that you've got to put yourself in. Michael Adams right in the middle of this lap traffic. And I gotta say, Rachel, if I were Adams, I would have thought about coming into the pits on the last lap to avoid a lot of this lap traffic.
Yeah, it could have been a smarter choice there, but the traffic, this is one thing you need to factor, not just what room's around you, but what's going to be there when you come out as Adams comes down pit road here. We'll see how this sequence is through. Gibson's coming through 7B at the back of the lap here. Or is that 8? I always forget those corner name numbers. So where will he come out? Michael Adams is making his way to the front. It'll be a long drive to his pit box here. A long way to go.
Yes, indeed. As here is Todd Roseman, your first driver to be what is ostensibly, we anticipate maybe being in the lead here. Keeping an eye on Adams right now. I think he's got it. I think you're right, Rachel.
Yeah, I think by a reasonable margin still, we'll see him come shooting past. That's him there. You saw Adams in his pit box. Adams leaving his pit box now. The gap should still be about net 10 seconds, I believe. We'll see when he comes to the line here, but obviously, Adams not up to speed. He has probably not taken tyres here. He's got fuel, so they'll have cooled slightly, but not much. We'll see how this one does shake out. But so far, Roseman looking good, but his times will need to come up here. They are not as quick as they could be. 15th, Andrew Smiley there. Running down the car of Stefan Iridaka. Going to the chicane there. Behind him, that's Reba. Reba's trying to make a recovery as well, but we'll see how they play that one through, right? In fact, here comes Iridaka to pit road.
Yeah, and we're still waiting on a couple of drivers here. James Hemmick, James Lashaway, Jeff Lashaway, and Art Schwartz, the three drivers here that look like they still owe us a pit stop here at this point. There is the leading driver out of all of that, James Hemmick. He is up net 8 right now, but I've got to imagine that is going to fall once he opts to come down into pit lane. About 13 minutes left to go here on the clock. I certainly think he is going to be coming down right about now. I would be frankly amazed if he's able to make it one more lap around.
Yeah, that'd be quite extreme as we'll see where they go to here. Kenny's gonna have to pit. I think he's doing it this time by. He's not. No. So Kenny's staying out there. Has Drew Kenny pitted? He has. Yes, he has pitted last time by. I'm quite wrong there. So Roseman is net leading now by 5.7 seconds. Adams is coming quickly.
Yeah, he's coming very, very quickly here. That last lap when they were both up to speed, it looked like it came down there a little bit. 5 seconds between Roseman and Adams. Adams has just got to put the pressure on. And by the way, James Hemmick, he stayed out on that last lap. Call me surprised.
Okay, that's impressive. I wasn't expecting him to do that. Another one might not be enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it will be enough or not. I mean, he's really going to be running this fuel tank as dry as possible here. We talked about that potential strategy. Here is Drew Kenny, though. Remember, we talked about his rise up through the field, up 12 right now. He's coming up behind Edward Trippett as they go, and it looks like he may be able to get that run going down into the corner.
Yeah, he certainly might. I know we have an energy crisis, but there's no reason to bleed the fuel tank that dry. As they go around here, you can definitely afford to stop. As what's him running here super close there. through the chicane, but not quite close enough to make a pass.
Yeah, he's able to get on by. There he is. Drew Kenny, though, up into 4th place. Now, he's going to have a big gap to try to get his way back up forward. He's got about, let's call it 8 seconds to be able to get his way up towards John Gibson. I think that's going to be a little bit unassailable here at this point, unless Gibson runs into a little bit more of lap traffic, and that can severely slow him down.
Yep, could be a factor there. We'll see what happens with these drivers, because Adams is the wild card. Not the wild card that we don't expect, the wild card that we're expecting. How will he and Roseman race? Because they ended up being net about the same speed. Is Adams burning everything he's got here to catch up? Because in the heat, he wasn't that much faster than Roseman and my brain is doing a thing, Scott Bowers. They were about the same speed. He was the fastest, of course, but they were about the same speed. Where's he finding this much lap time from? Because it's 5.2. It's only gone down half a second last time by. We'll see what it is this time across the line. 4.6, so it's gone down again, nearly a second. So last time 19.2 for Michael Adams and a 19.8 for Roseman. So half a second still. Traffic up ahead here. It's going to be a mathematical game for when this will occur, but with 9 minutes 40 remaining, is Hemming in 8th place. He's looking to make a move towards Eric Kaufman up ahead of him, if he can catch him. Hemming up from 15, so big gains for him. And Drew Kenny is absolutely still on a tear. Oh, car spinning in front of him is not John Gibson, but it was a lap down car, I believe, there. That's going to be Art Schwartz, unfortunately. The Schwartz is not with him. He's with the tyre barrier.
Yeah, he's going to be off there, as here we have the number 14 working their way by. This is Roseman, your leader, working by some lap traffic. That is the number 23 that he is going to be putting a lap down there. That is Jason Sherwood. That's actually going to be 2 laps down for Sherwood, so he is not having the day that he would certainly have liked to. By the way, you saw there on your screen, finally, James Hemming coming down into pit lane. He is going to finally get that service here. Under 10 minutes to go. Color me impressed. I'm very amazed he was able to last that long.
Hey, someone send this guy to a gas pump anywhere in the US, because he will make your car last longer, apparently, than anybody else can. Maybe he filled up the car on the way home from work today, and that's why he's being so cautious on his fuel. I know I would be at the moment, but it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays. 2.6 seconds, oh my gosh. Traffic had a huge impact for Roseman and Adams here. We'll keep our eyes towards this. Look at that EMS livery there on the 14. It's a great livery. As towards the front of this field, the ambulance is being chased rather than being... Oh, yeah, I guess that makes Michael Adams an ambulance chaser. I hope he's not actually a lawyer. That would be really awkward.
That'd be very awkward indeed.
Oh, no. I hope he's a lawyer now. I mean, he's in the PCA. He owns a Porsche. There's a fair chance he could be. If that turns out to be true, that is god tier in terms of convenience. But Michael Adams is right on the back of Todd Roseman here. And it's going to come down to who can make the car wide enough at this point. Can Roseman defend? Never mind outrun him. All he has to do is defend. The Pacific Northwest region driver there, Michael Adams, started to do it first. He wants that back. Todd Roseman was third in qualifying, third in the heat. Can he make this his race?
Well, that's going to be the question here. That gap has come down by about 2.5 seconds here at this point. Here they come, trying to see what he is able to do. 2.5 seconds, and it is certainly coming down by a pretty significant margin, particularly on lap 23. That gap came down by about 2 seconds, only about a tenth here on this lap for the 911, but I think he's got the speed within it. I think he's going to be able to make this work, potentially.
We will find out. It is a serious recovery drive, and it's fading off now, though. 20.066 for Adams, 20.149. That ain't a lot. That's a tenth. Maybe the Porsche has come off the boil here. Maybe he burned it all up catching him, because it has been 11 seconds regained. You don't get that for free.
No, you certainly don't. And I wonder here for a little bit for Roseman if that was just some lap traffic that got in the way and maybe that Adams was able to deal with that a little bit better. They don't have any cars in between them right now, and the gap has expanded upwards of about 3 seconds here at this point. But Roseman's going to have to deal with Johan Nye, Tim Schrock, and Robert Benson just up the road of him right now. So he's not out of the woods here quite yet. Let's see what it was coming across the line, though. And there, Roseman was able to gain 0.3 in clean air, so not a good sign there. Oh, as we've got a car off coming up to the apex of turn 1.
Yeah, DJ will find out who that was for us there, but Roseman here has lap traffic to contend with. If lap traffic isn't the best thing for him to run around, this could be important here, because if Adams can handle lap traffic better, this could be big. Cars moving out the way there for Roseman, the leader. They're giving him space there. Of course, it's a courtesy blue flag here, not a you must move over. We just heard that Freddie Lopez has retired, by the way, here, so he will not be finishing tonight. Roseman does appear to be catching in good places, though, and he's picking up draft from these guys, which will be a big advantage. Too big a gap for Adams, though. He won't catch anything other than maybe Flew.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to catch them there, and that gap is going to stay pretty stagnant here between Roseman and Adams with about 5 minutes left to go on the clock. By my calculations, that should be about 3 laps to go. We take a look there, that green number 14, that is your leader. Now, he did get held up just a little bit behind Tim Schrock, but Schrock on the radio letting him know by, and you can see there a couple of the cars that he's going to have to contend with that are just up the road from him. 5 laps to go is what we are being told.
5 laps, here we go. 5 laps remaining in this one. Round 1 for challenge has been up and down. It's been exciting. We've had lots of change and variety. And it comes down to this. Can Michael Adams chase the ambulance down and get ahead of it? That's not normally the way we do things. We normally pull over for ambulance. Maybe that's his idea. Maybe that is Todd Roseman's idea this entire time. People pull over for ambulances and get out of the way.
Could be. It's a little bit of an interesting strategy if he tries to pull it out, but I like it.
You know what? Next time I'm going to paint up a car like a cop car and just call it that. We'll go with that instead. We'll make it a state trooper. That way nobody will want to be in front of it, sorry. But Todd Roseman now coming through here. We'll keep our eyes on this time here, because this is going to be really interesting here. Olin Murphy hit the tyre barrier in lap 26, by the way. He was 9th place. He was hit by car 10, Randy Lavold. Unfortunate incident for those guys. I believe race control is looking at that one, so we'll find out what happens in the aftermath. But it wasn't caught on screen for us, unfortunately. 2.2 seconds, and it's not coming down quick enough now. It was at one point coming down incredibly quickly, DJ, but that gap, and this is our biggest battle at the moment, it's a time battle, and it's not going his Adam's way.
Well, he's going to get a little bit held up there coming down through turn 12. That was going to be Robert Benson that he had to get around. But on that lap, he was able to take about 0.4 of a second out of the lead. It was down under 2 seconds as they crossed over the line. But I think a little bit more of that lap traffic allowed for Roseman to pull ahead. About 3 minutes left to go on the clock. We're doing lap times of about 1:20. So I'm going to call that about 3 laps left to go. Here is a little battle, though, that we have Olin Murphy, who we just talked about. Car having a little bit of a squirrely moment there, coming up over 5. That is some great avoidance from Tom Crane.
Huge there by Tom Crane. Completely out of the way of trouble there. That's Roseman again for us. Coming up some lap traffic. He's using it here. Oh, Lavold has a black flag for that incident we just found here, and the leader just had to check up there for that incident. So that was definitely a bit of a moment for these guys, unfortunately. Very low black flags though for the first round of the challenge race. These guys have really been keeping it very clean for this first one, I think. There's maybe 3.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of keeping it clean here. This is exactly what we love to see out of the PCA. Good, respectful, heads-up driving, and not a lot of those penalties having to be issued here. We ride on board, though, with Michael Adams. It looks a little bit like that the leader had to check up on that last lap. Adams is going to be able to get his way through some good traffic. He gained a little bit, not a whole lot on that last lap, but the gap is down under a second, or under 2 seconds here, and a big checkup for Todd Roseman. That's going to be Olin Murphy that he's coming up behind, and that was a big checkup through turn 2. That's going to cost him a lot.
That's going to cost him hugely there. Not sure whether it's good sportsmanship or being afraid of DJ Lyon, one of the race control guys. I think everyone's afraid of him. Todd Roseman, though, has been eaten alive by that little moment there. He's still got a decent gap here, but it's going to be enough, I think. If this holds, 2 to go. Oh, lap traffic just cut off Adams. Oh, this is definitely getting interesting.
And that was the worst place for that to happen. I saw that gap tickle down under a second there for the first time. And what that checkup for Michael Adams meant was that he is not going to get the benefit of the crucial draft here as they work their way down the back straightaway. And I believe here, Rachel, they're going to be coming. Yes, indeed, they're going to be coming to the white flag here. And so this is all going to be down to fastest lap times. Jonathan Reber's the next car up the road that they'll have to lap. He is 7 seconds up the road, so they are not going to have any of that coming in between them.
Well, lap traffic is what has undone Todd Roseman so far in this one in terms of keeping himself away from Michael Adams. And there is none now. So he should be able to hold a good lap here. 120.198 for him last time by, 119.4 for Adams, but he was held up. So this could definitely be difficult. The white is out. Roseman could hold him here, but the draft could end him. Of course, he needs to make sure that gap is big enough coming out onto the back straight here. Second is close. This is our biggest fight. We have to keep our eyes on this one. A couple of fighters elsewhere on the track, but we'll focus down on them as soon as we can. But this is for your race win. This is for all the cookies in the pot. Todd Roseman, that gap about just under a second. If he can hold it to about a second, he is safe on this draft. But he's got to have everything here. He's got to have the biggest exit he can manage. It is a good exit and a wiggle by Adams. It's not going to be enough. Adams can't close in. He wiggled off the exit of the corner.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that tire spin that I talked about, a little bit of overuse of the tires, and that was just enough to really prevent it. But here comes Drew Kenny. He's working his way through contact.
Oh, big problems. We'll come back to that one and replay after the race ends because Roseman coming to the line here. Doing the game the final time, and the gap is too big. Michael Adams can only watch that ambulance pull away as Todd Roseman comes down the hill and under that Michelin bridge to win round one for the challenge class. Michael Adams second. John Gibson is in pit road, so that will not be third, I don't think. Did he just pit that time by? No, he must have been in a lap. So Drew Kenny, in theory, will have this. We'll watch that replay as soon as he comes across the line, or when the race is over, but Drew Kenny, I think, might take third here? He might podium. Yeah, he will. He will podium after a meteoric race and 14 places gained to a podium.
Yeah,
will he get a black flag? That's all. Yeah, he could be responsible. We'll watch that in a second, and we'll let you be the judge. But we'll see everybody else come across first. Through comes Trippett, Kaufman, Gibson is still on pit road. He's dropping down the list. Frost is coming down to finish here with Bowers behind him. Can Bowers regain a spot? It's not going to be close enough. The guy who qualified on pole, finished second in the heat, will come across the line, unfortunately, in 7th place. Stacey Iwata in 9th is coming down to finish his lap. And Reba behind him will come home for 10th. But 19th to 9th for Iwata. He's coming through the chicane there. Oh, how things change, huh?
Indeed, how they do. And we're going to take a look. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Now, I think this was coming up into turn 6. Yeah, Gibson right up ahead here of Drew Kenny. Kenny counting the back of him. Remember, we talked about how this may have been a little bit of a flashpoint for Kenny to be able to move up through the field. He's going to have a look to the outside here right now, going down into turn 6 and around into turn 7.
Oh,
there's the incident.
That's a difficult one because I think he held his line. I can't tell. Obviously, stewards will decide. This could affect the race results here because coming into the corner, Kenny. Oh, he did. Kenny held his line. Kenny was against the actual outside of the line there, and I believe, based on what we're seeing here, I think he'll hold his spot. Gibson came out into him. Kenny should, fingers crossed, hold this position. Here's our post-race results. Todd Roseman, Michael Adams, Drew Kenny, 4th place Edward Trippett with Eric Hoffman, Mark Frost, Scott Bowers, Stacey Iwata, Jonathan Reba, and 10th place John Gibson. 1 lap down there. First of 1 lap down. 11th place Ola Murphy, Tom Crane, Tim Schrock, Johan Nye, James Hemmig, Jeff Lashway, Stefan Iridaka, Randy Levold, Robert Benson, and Chris Sari in 20th. 21st will be Jack Stevenson with Ronald Simeon in 22nd, Andy McKeown, Art Schwartz, Andrew Smiley, Jason Sherwood, Freddie Lopez, and Michael Burgoyne. Wow. That got exciting. And we have at least one of our guys from the podium waiting. We'll have to wait to see what race control says. with regard to that last incident there, because it could technically impact our post-race results. I don't think it will, but I'm not race control. They have always have the deciding factor in that one. But as it does, of course, impact our results, we will have to wait and see. But we do have Todd Roseman, who is standing by to talk to us now. And we will chat to him now. Todd Roseman, do we have you?
Yes, you do.
Wow. So first important question. Are you involved in EMS?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
The first question was, are you involved in the emergency medical services field?
Correct.
Wonderful. So obviously, an ambulance, yeah, people move out your way. Was that the theory?
No, actually, people don't move out of our way, so that doesn't help at all.
You must be at a city agency then.
Kind of.
Okay, so a busy race out there, third in qualifying, third in the heat, and through luck, for once the seas parted, and you ended up going through to first place. Just what was it like inheriting the lead and having to try and hold the laps there?
When I saw those two kind of take off and I was by myself, I had a good lead. I think it was like 4 or 5 seconds ahead of fourth, so I knew I had a good thing. But lap traffic was really hard to get through, really slow traffic. I almost stopped at one point not to run into somebody, which allowed Mike to catch up, shockingly, at the end.
Yeah, he really kind of worked the numbers down there, but you managed to hold that gap. The time between you two was... traffic seemed to be worse for you than it was for him, but you seemed to find some pace at the end. Had you been saving any of your tires in your car before you kind of got to that final push?
As soon as I saw 1 and 2 spin out, I started saving my tires. My lap times, I think, dropped to the low 119s. So I was trying to save my tires for the refuel in the end.
Well, it certainly seemed to have paid off, of course, as that definitely made it an interesting result there. So great points coming out of this one. 2 thirds and a first in the actual feature. So you're sitting on some good rocks for this one. And, of course, the rest of the races in the season, are you looking forward to or hating any of those?
Oh, yeah. I haven't competed in a lot of the series, but this one I planned on doing the whole thing. So, yep.
Well, that's awesome. Anybody like to give a shout out to or thank?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, well, great. There you go then. Thanks for joining us, Todd Roseman, coming home today with the win. Well, next up, we have going to be Mike Adams coming home to talk in second, talking to DJ Clark.
Michael, a great run back through the field there for you. Looked like a little bit of an error early on, obviously cost you a little bit, but you've got to be pleased being able to salvage a second place out of that.
Yeah, the lap traffic was a lot of fun. I fully sent it a few times and actually thought I was going to get taken out. But hey, we survived and made it really close. Hopefully the viewers enjoyed that one.
I can tell you, I certainly did. It was pretty fantastic to see. And talk to me about a little bit of that lap traffic. I mean, it looked like that was really where you were able to make up the gains on Roseman in those last laps. It was just a full send approach for you to try to move your way up through them then?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole time coming in, I knew I had good pace and I had to, be mistake free, which obviously didn't work out. And then once I saw Roseman, I think it was about, if he lost 2 or 3 seconds, and I said, all right, he's taking it easy. I'm going to go full send and see if we can't catch him for the end. And it was close. It was real close.
Very close indeed, and very, very exciting to be able to see you come up there. But looking ahead, next time out, we head to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, a track that's a little bit more difficult to overtake on there. How do you think that's going to go, and do you like that circuit? It's kind of a love it or hate it track.
Yeah, I actually am one of the few that I think like it a lot. It doesn't have the best of racing, but it really challenges. I shouldn't say that. I've had some really good races there, but I just really like the challenge of that course. It can really bite you super easy. And so I like courses like that really push you to focus 110%. So I'm really looking forward to round 2.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to it as well. And I guess the final question for you is, looking over the course of the season, starting things off strong here at Road Atlanta, what are your goals? What are you trying to focus in on for the season?
Oh, I'm taking the championship. Everybody better be ready because I plan to put it P1. That's how I roll.
I love it. I love the confidence. I absolutely love to hear it, Michael Adams. Anybody you want to thank who makes this possible for you?
I got to start with Matrix. My team, we worked on a few things together. Just a lot of support, lots of cheering in the Discord chat within our group. So that's first and foremost. Second is my family and actually my son. We were at the go-kart track all day long, prepping for a huge national race. And the whole drive home, he was like kind of coaching me and kind of talking me up. It was role reversal. He was the coach tonight. He was standing by me for the heat race, which was pretty fun. He absolutely loved that start that I had there and how I held it. So it was a good time. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the broadcast.
Right back at you. Thank you so much, Michael, for making a good race out there. That was Michael Adams, your second place finisher.
We will not be having a chance to chat to third place tonight. Just no blame assigned here, but Race Control still are considering what happened on that final lap, so we will not be able to get to that one whilst they review it. But we will see you at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for the club class at 9:25 Eastern on Wednesday, October 19th, live here on Podium Esports. We'd like to thank the PCA Sim Racing title sponsors for the Series 9, Pirelli, and Six Sigma Sim Racing, as well as a huge thank you to LastTenth.com, better car, better driver. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Cameron, Ryan, and Dougie. None of this would be possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Rachel Whitefoot, and I'll see you on the track.